All right, welcome back to Building the Groundwork. We have a new episode today with Eric Woodcock from Tucker Paving. Eric, thanks for joining us. Welcome.
I appreciate it. Excited.
Yeah, love to get into it. So, Eric, you are the fleet manager or equipment manager for Tucker?
Yeah, equipment manager for Tucker, and been doing it for about 5 years now.
Great. So, Tucker Paving, what kind of work do you do? What footprint? What is the business?
So we're total earth moving, total site. We do utilities, master, municipality work, commercial work, residential work. We're primarily in Polk County, but we get some jobs here and there outside the territory. We're looking to expand and kind of venture into new areas, but we've primarily kind of stick to that Polk County region.
And Tucker Paving's been in business how many years?
Since 95 or 94, I believe, so about 30 years.
Awesome. Family-owned business?
Family-owned, same owner. Son works there. Stepbrother works there. Just deep family roots.
Awesome. How big is your fleet?
So, truck-wise and pickup and heavy hauls, I mean, we're north of 150. And then heavy equipment-wise, we're probably pushing that 250 to 300 mark with, that's everything down to a light tower, up to a, EC 550 or a PC 490.
So big 100,000-pound excavator.
Yeah. We've got everything from big 100,000-pound excavators to minis and light towers and all the small equipment.
And what, all different brands?
All different brands, all different manufacturers. We do stick to the Power 4, but kind of just a mixed fleet. We kind of like certain pieces of equipment. We like certain brands, but I'm willing to try anything. And with technology and everything changing, you can't just stick to one.
Sure. So. And you have a really interesting background because you were a former mechanic?
Yes, former technician, Vector Fleet Management, and Lender Industrial Machinery.
Vector, they're a mobile service company primarily servicing like the Mosaic mines, is that right?
Yeah, that's how they're known around here mostly. They're all over the place, but they were the fleet company that took care of Mosaic's heavy equipment and truck fleet and golf carts, actually. Everything that pretty much had an engine at Mosaic, they handled it.
Okay. And how long were you a technician?
I was a technician probably since I was 19 to 25. So a little under 10 years, but I've been working on working on trucks since I was probably 14, 15.
Did you go to like vocational school?
No. I was incredibly blessed to have really, really good mentors and get opportunities that probably shouldn't have gotten, but somehow sneaked my way in, and then just became a sponge to old school mechanics, new school mechanics, and if somebody was willing to teach it, I was kind of willing to learn it.
And you just enjoyed that type of work?
Yeah. I'm a problem solver at heart is what I've kind of figured out about myself. I just enjoy problems, and I mean, being a technician, that's all you're doing all day long is trying to figure out a problem and fix it. And I still do the same thing now, even though I don't turn wrenches. I look at a problem and I fix it.
And what led you to work for the dealer?
It was an opportunity. I was at Vector, and it was a great starting point for me because you're doing like a lot of PMs, kind of a lot of like day in, day out work, nothing real heavy diagnosing or even parts changing. But it was a great place to learn. And then had a former boss that ended up leaving to go over there. He was one of my like biggest mentors at the time, and opportunity arose for me to go over to Lender and made the jump. Worked in the shop for a little bit, learned from some great mechanics there that had been there forever, and then jumped into a field truck for a little bit, and then became a resident tech at Tucker.
Oh, cool.
For a little bit, yeah.
What's the training like at a dealership?
So the training, and it's kind of evolved even since I've left. There's a huge focus on it. They have their classes. So I believe, and we had one when I was at Lender, and actually the trainer at Lender now is a guy I used to work with, even at Vector. They have classes, especially when it comes to like after treatment and kind of the specific components of machines, hydraulics, electronics, and they kind of have like a classroom setting, and then they walk you out in the yard, they show you, and that's a great place to learn. You'll learn, what I like about those is you learn how it works, right? You learn how a system works, and I'm a big believer, if you know how a system works, you can fix it. All you're doing is you're just retracing what's going wrong. But with that, there's no way you could just take that training and be good, right? Experience, and honestly learning from some of the older heads, some of the technicians, some of the guys that are super experienced. There was a guy at Lender named John. He taught me like how to look at a breakdown, how to tear things apart, what to look for, why, kind of the why, not just here's a part, replace it. He really taught me like, hey, this is how you do it and why we do it. And that's instrumental.
Is that like mentor-mentee relationship, was that a lot driven by like you seeking him out, like wanting to learn? It's funny, like you talk to a lot of people and they want to complain about like the younger generation.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of people don't want to spend time like training younger people. Or is like that individual, like were you just blessed, like that individual was like very open and looking to do that, or was it primarily you seeking it out and him just giving you the time?
It's definitely a hunger, right? And I'm kind of starting to see it now, and I'm not that old. I'm only 30, but
Right.
You even see it now. Nobody wants to teach somebody that's not hungry, right? I'm willing to show anybody what I do and how I do it. If I can see that they want it, right? And the same thing was when I was young, I was really hungry. I wanted the knowledge. I hated not knowing how to do something. Kind of just bothered me. And I think I would like to think people picked up on that, and they're like, this kid's willing to learn. I'm willing to teach, right? And you'll run into some people that just don't. They just want to kind of do their thing, and they don't. But for the most part, nobody ever really kind of turned me away from teaching me something or me learning something.
That aspect is interesting to me too, because dealers are under a lot of pressure because they're short-staffed.
Yep.
Right. And like that's kind of the catch-22 is that you have to train and develop people, but there's pressure that everyone who I employ, I need to be billing every hour, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
how does that work where like really it's best learned on the job, but so are you watching someone do jobs and you're learning that way? Are they putting you on your own jobs and someone's looking over your shoulder? Rework is a real risk too, right? So if we turn a young guy like you onto this job, and there's not a lot of supervision, like what's the like rework risk and percentage of that? Like how does that work?
So I kind of have to look at it like an investment, like just in stock, like in anything anybody does as a business owner, it's an investment, right? And it's how much investment are you willing to put on it? And it's hard because look, I'm sure every dollar counts, every billable hour counts.
Yep.
And it's not so much like watching jobs, you got to get in there, right? And it sucks to say, and nobody really wants to go through it, but you learn from your mistakes, right?
Yeah.
I can still remember mistakes I made as a technician that I will never do in my life ever again. And
Sure.
it sucks because it costs money, and sucks for Lender and Vector because it wasn't my money, it was their money, but it was a space for me to learn. And I think when I was there, they did a good job in as, hey, this is a mistake, learn from it, move on, right? So I think that's important.
Would they have someone like double check your work before it went back to the customer, and that's how?
Sometimes. Okay. I mean, in the busy day-to-day, ultimately, yes, you want somebody checking your work, double checking, but sometimes that's not always a possibility. But for the most part, yeah. And when you're like super young, you're going to have somebody with you that's kind of watching, like, and it's funny because I don't work on equipment anymore, but if I'm around a technician, I can see some of the same habits that that I did that he does. And not that I was this amazing mechanic. I feel like I was above average, not crazy
Right.
good. But the tendencies that young mechanics always have, trying to teach them, and sometimes they're not going to learn. They just
Right.
got to go through the mistake.
What are those good habits that make successful mechanics?
Moving at it sounds weird, like at a slow pace, right? And it's not really slow, it's methodical, right? It's being able to move through a problem methodically and not just, oh, this is it, and then you start to rush, right? A lot of it's pride too, man. Pride in your work. You'll get people that just want to do jobs, and then you go behind them and you're just like, this clamp's missing, this bolt's loose, and you can tell that there wasn't a lot of pride behind that work. And
Attention to detail.
the attention to detail, and knowing that when you deliver, it's just like us in the construction world. When we deliver a project to a customer, we want that project to be perfect. We want trash picked up, stuff. It's the same thing in a technician, right? When a technician turns a dozer over to an operator, if I don't get called back to that job, or another tech goes and goes, man, this guy did it right. That there's a pride, there's something about that feels good, and that it's either in you or it's not, kind of a thing. And I think that's also maturity, right? You learn that through maturity. So
Yeah, it's and the diagnosis, like, how difficult is that? Like,
it's an experience and a learned thing. So there's two different types of it. I feel like you can get really good at a manufacturer, right? You could be like, I work on Komatsus, or I work on cats, and I know these systems in and out, and you just know problems just because of the experience level. I think when you're trying to find a good mechanic, when you find somebody that can explain how something works, and then explain, like, so when I talk to a technician about a work order or just a job that's going on, it is very apparent a technician that knows mechanically what he's doing and why he's doing it, rather than somebody that's just like, hey man, I've just seen this issue 15 times, it's this.
and they just kind of assume that that's what the problem
And
is.
just assume, and a lot of the times they are right? They've been working on it a lot and stuff like that. But when you look at like a good overall mechanic, man, it sounds bad, they almost kind of drone on, but it's that knowledge of like, hey, I know every part of the system, and this is why I did what I did. And it's very obvious when I talk to a technician about it.
Interesting. Let's talk more about Tucker. So that was selfish for me.
Yeah, there you go.
So you were a resident technician for Tucker for a couple of years, you said.
Yeah.
What led to you taking the role of equipment manager at Tucker?
So on the Tucker side, they were getting bigger. They were getting more jobs. We were kind of working in and out of Disney at the time. We were kind of coming out of Disney a little bit, and the fleet was getting just kind of, so before, a general superintendent used to manage it, and he did it off of a kind of a field mentality, like a superintendent or a operator mentality, and it was kind of getting big enough to where it was kind of too much to handle. They ended up having a vacancy, and they ended up hiring another general superintendent who's still with us today, and it was definitely apparent that they needed the need for somebody just to look at equipment. At the time, I was their resident mechanic. Felt like I had a pretty good relationship with everybody there, and I wasn't tired, but I knew that I didn't want to burn myself out jumping in and off equipment, getting under machines, getting soaked, just the day-to-day technician life. I could tell I did not want to do that for the next 20 years, and then probably not be able to walk in 30, right? If I didn't do it right.
Sure.
So I knew that I wanted more, and I wanted to kind of get away from the everyday life, but I had a niche in fleet management. So I applied, and got to meet with Chip. Knew him a little bit, but didn't have much interactions. And then kind of went from there. And yeah, that's how we started. And honestly, I got a lot of ownership in it, because I kind of started the different programs, started how we look at things, and Chip is super into equipment. That's kind of like his baby, and I'm blessed that he's trusted me with that huge part of his business.
So there was no, you didn't join necessarily like an equipment department that was already formed.
No.
Who did you learn from when you started?
everybody that was willing, just kind of like the technician thing, anybody that was willing to teach me anything about it, I was willing to learn from. At the time, Ray Phillips was there. He taught me a lot. Chip taught me a lot through his own experiences. Caroline, she was our CFO at the time. She's still there. She taught me a lot about the financing side, right? I had no idea on that side. Justin Austin from Lender, he taught me a lot about how to move through dealerships in an effective way and still keep, relationships and stuff, and how to navigate through that.
What do you mean by move through dealerships?
Kind of know who to call, who's got the answer, how to find the answer to your problem quickly, right? Because I mean, the simple answer is I can call a customer service rep, or I can call a salesman and say, hey, I got a problem, get it fixed. Will they fix it? Do I have great salesmen that will do that? Yes, but is that the fastest way for me to get to my problem? No. Having a relationship with the field dispatcher, the shop foreman, the service manager, people like that.
That's got to be almost weird to where you are used to being the problem solver, and then you go into a position of fleet manager, and you can't solve the problem per se anymore. Like, you are now reliant on all these other people.
Really hard for me.
Yeah.
That was a big part of learning and it's something Chip has taught me, immensely about is how to delegate, right? And how to get the result you want without sticking your hand in it and just doing it yourself. I'm the kind of guy, like, especially in my early part of my career, I was like, I'll just go out there and fix it. And there was a handful of times I just went out there and I fixed it. And then I quickly realized that is not, it's not the way to do it. It's not effective. I'm not doing the things I need to be doing because I'm out fixing small problems that I need to be having somebody else do.
Right. Interesting. So, what are, you show up to work, like today's a Wednesday. What are typical problems that you come across that you have to now fix?
So that's changed. Are we talking about now, or are we talking about like when I first started?
Well, let's start when you first started, and then how the problems have evolved.
So when I first started, I was dispatching every repair. I was dispatching every repair. I was seeing every repair from start to finish.
So a machine, a wheel loader has an issue in the field.
Yep.
What happens? Who do you hear from, and then what happens?
So that was a part I had to fix, was how do we intake the information? So we run it through an email. They send in the email. I see the problem. I dispatch it to
someone on site.
Usually the superintendent, and then we try to train our foremans because the superintendent's busy too. Foremans need to be able to send the email or, make sure somebody's aware. From there, I dispatch the repair to the dealership or whoever at the time. I still have a resident tech, so there are sometimes you have.
And then with your background, when you get that email, do you have some kind of idea of the severity of the problem?
Yes, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. It kind of gets you in trouble, and I've noticed that here recently because I have a dispatcher now that doesn't have a lot of technical experience, but he came from a rental house, and he's a very good dispatcher, and he's a parts guy. I can see that he almost moves through problems quicker than I did because he doesn't care, right?
Right.
And it's not a sense that he doesn't care. He doesn't know, right? He looks at a machine that's got a code. My technician brain was like, what's going on? All right, let me call this guy, let him know what's going on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kind of turned into more than it needed to be, whereas my dispatcher now, he goes, nope, see a problem, I send a problem. And then on the back end, I can come in as a technical guy and go, okay, I see what happened here, I see where we should have done or what we didn't do. You know what I mean? But for the most part, as far as like fast-paced problems, it was almost kind of a hindrance of...
Yeah, because you're ultimately going to need someone from the outside to go look at the machine.
Yeah.
And you're almost delaying that by you trying to understand what happened.
Yeah, and it came in handy sometimes, but when you're talking about everyday problems and as fast as... Because, I mean, it blows my mind how many repairs come in through a fleet of equipment, right? It's way more than I ever thought as being a technician. Over time, you'll start to notice, one, it'll wear on you, right? My mind was just... frazzled all the time.
Right.
And then two, you start to see that, it kind of slows you down and jobs they don't go the right way.
because somebody's going based off of other information.
A technician can't go there with a clear mind, right? They know me. They're like, oh, Eric said it was this, and I could be wrong. I'm wrong all the time. So
Yeah, you have like a bias because of being a technician.
you have a bias, and sometimes you can only tell so much from an email or from a phone call, and it's like Monday night quarterbacking, right? It's like sitting on a chair and going, oh, I know what that quarterback should have done in that play, and in turn you kind of don't sometimes.
Do you have internal technicians?
No. So
okay.
we are 0 technicians. We have a resident tech. Kind of strange, I feel like. I feel like the industry is kind of moving more towards that, especially with liability and stuff like that.
More internal technicians?
No, more
resident.
more resident techs, or more just letting the dealership take care of it, or people like Heave take care of it. But yeah, since I started, we have 0 technicians, and it's hard, but it's kind of nice too. There's a part of that I don't have to deal with that a lot of other people have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely pluses and minuses to it.
Yeah. There's stuff that's good, stuff that's bad. I think it's part of the wash.
So those were the early days. Mm-hmm. What are the problems today?
The problems today are big bills, severe, downtime. Why has this machine been down for 2 weeks? And then it's me going, all right, let's see what's happening here. Me and my dispatcher will sit down and we'll try to figure out what happened. Old machines. How much money are we spending on this machine, and why are we still doing this?
The machine down for 2 weeks. That problem, is that because of the size of your fleet and the frequency of machines breaking down, that you just lose sight to machines that are down for a certain period of time, and that you only kind of catch up to it when you get a bill? Is that?
No. Jobs kind of get out of hand sometimes. So this is where kind of being a technician is helpful, and helps the dealers and hurts dealers, and helps technicians or hurts technicians. Because I can look at something. So say something's been down for 2 weeks, right? And it's just beating them up. I can go in there. I'm like, all right, what do we do? And if they tell me everything they did, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this thing is just.
So when you go to work every day, hey, this machine is down now for the 5th day. It's down now for the 6th day.
I rely on my dispatcher to be able to tell me that. Hey, man, I'm having a problem. We just can't get this machine across the finish line. We can't figure out what's going on with it. And then I go, okay. And I have good relationships with the technicians still. I still keep a pretty good relationship. Dispatchers, and I might call them and say, hey, man, just walk me through what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, I have somebody to, if Chip comes to me and says, hey, man, I'm not getting any production out of this dozer. It's been down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The answer can't be, oh, well, they're working on it. You know what I mean? Chip's he's gonna expect, hey, did you look into this? Are they doing what they need to be doing? Do we need to get into somebody?
Do you have like internal reporting that show like a down list of equipment every day?
Yeah. So we have a running list of, a running kind of, it's not a spreadsheet anymore, but just a running list of everything that's down. It's a constant, it's a living list. And yeah, at any point in time, I can log in and I can go, this is what's down. This is how long it's been down.
What's your business system? Do you have like HCSS or?
No, we use Tenna and Samsara.
Okay. You're a Tenna customer.
We are a Tenna customer, and then we just started using Samsara too on the trucking side.
Interesting. Okay, I know a bunch of people on Tenna.
Yeah, Tenna's they're great. They've been great to work with.
That's great. I saw Austin at Con Expo. I'm a big fan.
Yes, I did actually see that y'all you did a podcast with him. Yes.
Yeah, he's very sharp. So we've been following along with them.
Yeah.
So do most contractors that run it like very similarly to the way you guys run?
Yes, with different variances, right? Everybody kind of does things just a hair different. For the most part, yes, it's just kind of the details into it, but for the most part, the system I feel like works.
I can assume I know the answer to this, but I got to ask it.
Yeah.
Do you think that someone with your background, like a mechanic background, that's necessary to be an effective fleet manager?
This day and age, yes. There's so much that goes into this equipment, and I mean, there's GPS on the sites. That's a whole another set of problems. You have the mechanical problems. You have the buying and the sell. I mean, just all these things that go into equipment, I think you're gonna see. There's a handful of us out there, right? So like Donnie from Crisdale, he's a former technician, and me and him have a really good relationship, and you're gonna start seeing that more, right? You're gonna start seeing the technical guys being equipment managers because
what are the biggest
yeah.
advantages?
No, the biggest advantage, I think, it's going to be one, knowing what you're looking at, right? When you see an invoice come in, right? I can look at an invoice, I can read a write-up, and I can follow along, and I know exactly what's going on. Knowing how technicians and how machines work, right? So a perfect example, like I just said, if a machine's down for 2 weeks and the dealer's really truly done everything that they possibly could, and this. It saves relationships because, if you had a guy that didn't know that, right, and he is just going, and don't get me wrong, I'm still looking at my dealership saying we got to get this moving,
right.
But it's a different conversation than going, hey man, you're not doing what you need to be doing. Your job is to fix this, fix it. That's a different conversation when you have somebody that's a technical knowledge, and you start to get dealers to work with you a lot better, right? You start to get people even from your side, from even technicians that want to work with you. And at the end of the day, if you want to work with me, you're going to give me a better product. So if I can build that relationship and I can make it a more symbiotic relationship, knowing that, hey, I'm going to call you out when you're wrong, but I'm also going to like not cover for you, but I'm also going to be in your corner when you're right? Hey man, they're doing everything that they possibly can. This is just one of those machines. Knowing that, I think, is a huge, huge advantage for companies to be able to do.
Do you get involved with like troubleshooting issues much or no?
I try not to. I will, just because I enjoy it, right? And it kind of based off the technician, right? If it's an old technician that I've known for a lot of years, right, we may bounce. So like my resident tech, I worked with him at Vector. I've known him for probably 15 years at this point. And yeah, he'll call me and he'd be like, man, I don't know. I'm just not seeing it, right? And sometimes all it takes is a different mindset, and I'll go, all right, tell me what's going on. And then sometimes we work through problems together. That doesn't happen very often, but it can.
What are the biggest headaches that you experience on a daily basis?
Biggest headaches, it's the easy stuff, right? It's getting out to a machine. It's travel time. The big stuff, the big problems are relatively easy to work through and fix. It's the small little ticky-tacky problems of something's broken, AC's broke, and operators want to run the machine, which I kind of get because it's hot. It's just the, I don't know how to explain it other than it's like the ticky-tacky problems that really burn
So
you
that
down.
becomes your problem? So you have to deal with people as well as like
No,
fleet?
so no, on the people side, no, our superintendents do a really good job, and our VP of operations, Bo, does a good job with that as well. And so on the people side, I try to stay up, but I mean,
I have to get involved somehow. Hey, this operator's not doing what we need him to do, or hey, it is what he's doing. But like I said, it's just the small
ticky-tacky stuff that just kind of like, at the end of the day, you're just like, why are we even dealing with this?
It seems like you spend a lot of time like after the fact, like
Yes.
reconciling invoices, like just trying to protect the company's best interests. Like, is this fair? Is this unfair? Is that accurate?
Yes. So I would say half and half, right? So yeah, so I spend a lot of time on the after, right? After a job is done, after a machine's been fixed, what happened here? Why did we get here? And that's part of my growth too in Tucker, is moving up and getting to that growth where my dispatcher's handling day-to-day problems. And honestly, my dispatcher, he's great. Raphael, he's awesome. I usually know about problems before they come to me, right? He'll call me and be like, hey, this is going to be a problem. But the goal is to get ahead of problems or to not even have those problems, because one, either somebody else fixed it or we have a process that fixed it and it never gets to me, or two, we did such a good job with PMs and inspecting machines that we caught a problem before it was a serious problem.
Okay, so then that helps like address, because I was going to ask, like, if you're spending a lot of time like after the fact, are there learnings that you can then apply, or is it merely just like oh, I saved us X amount of money by just like pushing back on these things.
So it's both, right? You're going to have problems that are never going to go away, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't predict if a dozer is going to have a pinched harness and it's going to go down for
Mm-hmm.
a week. But what I can avoid pins and bushings, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can avoid things not being greased. I can avoid when are we going to down a machine for undercarriage?
Gotcha. So you'll see like pins and bushing jobs, and then be like, oh, I realized that we didn't, do more preventative stuff.
We could have pushed this 6 months if we would have caught it maybe a little earlier and
Yeah,
shimmed the
I
bucket.
gotcha.
You know what I mean? Stuff like that, and that's a constant battle, right? I don't think that part of the battle is ever going to go away. The thing that you can change is you can nail down your processes and your SOPs and have your kind of your check gates, right? Of like, hey man, if we did get to this problem, it got past this many processes. Where was our breakdown, right? And it's funny because like we talked about when I was a technician, I love problem solving. That's all that is, right? We had a problem.
Yeah.
It got through all these different layers. Where was the breakdown? And then was it just a honest mistake, or is there something we got to fix?
Something that we haven't mentioned yet is technology. Has technology helped make your job any easier, or not really?
Yes. So yes and no. Yes, it's made it easier because some of the reports, some of the things that you look at are more streamlined, right? A great quote that our business development Mac heard in a conference one time was, AI might not take your job, but somebody that knows how to use AI will. And I think that's like perfect, right?
Yeah, it's a good.
In our industry, there's a lot of things that you still got to do with your hands. You still gotta fix. But if you can use AI to be more effective and more efficient, then why not, right? And that's what you're seeing. Like we're using AI to help us be more efficient, but at the end of the day, it's still our problem, and we still have to have a personal involvement in it.
What has Tenna helped you with?
Tenna's helped. So when I first went into Tenna, right, and I think there's a handful of other companies that do it now, but when I was looking around, I wanted something that had everything on one, right? And being able, and I didn't want to put a unit on every piece of machine I had. So Tenna was like the first customer that I really got to know that was able to pull from Volvo Connect, from Comtrax, from Vision Link. And then all I have to do is just put trucks and this. And so going back to that kind of technology thing, to this day, I still don't even use technology to the greatest extent, right? I could sit in a meeting and go, I'm pretty sure Tenna can do this, or I'm pretty sure Samsura could do this. I just don't know because I haven't done it. I make a phone call and he goes, oh yeah, it's right here. And it's like, man, I just didn't even know that. And it's right there in front of me. It's just kind of learning it and doing it over
So
and over
what kind of
again.
information do you rely on from
To like even miles, tracking yearly miles is like something we just did. Looking at locations, we're gonna rental equipment and how we dispatch it and how it comes in.
We run our maintenance logs through it, so they have all our maintenance logs, our PMs, and having that all on one
So you
centralized
can set
form.
PM schedules in Tenna, and it'll like alert you to machines that you should be servicing and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it's a running list. It tracks the miles and the hours, and we have it set at a certain.
And so
Set.
one of the benefits then is because it can work with all different brands.
Yep.
You don't have to log into CAT to then look at PM schedules,
Yes.
and then log into Deere and look at. It's just all in one place.
It's all on one. It's just one nice system. And to be honest, where I'm at now, I don't even log in Tenna every day. But my dispatcher, it stays on his computer all day long.
Austin can thank me for the commercial. No, but yes, like that is like one of the disconnects that I've always seen is that, with technology, like the OEMs want to protect it and make it very brand specific, and customers do not want that. Customers want a diversified fleet,
Yes.
and they want tech that can go across their entire portfolio. It's been such a huge disconnect, and
Yes.
yeah.
A quote Ray told me one time, Ray Phillips told me one time, he said, I don't want 100% of your fleet. If I had 100% of my fleet, you're comparing me to perfection. And it's true, right? Like if I have if I have one brand everything that goes wrong, I'm comparing you to perfection.
That's totally changed too, right? Like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you would have customers who, like, it was like an identity thing. We're like, hey, we are a such and such customer. We are a such and such customer. Like that.
Yes, you're completely changed.
You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
The machines have come so close to what they can do and like their efficiencies that, like, man, it's hard. I honestly, I kind of feel for these salesmen and some of these dealerships because it's minute changes and differences between these, and sometimes, and I can tell every operator's different. Sometimes it just comes down to operator preference, right? And having a good showing or a good
there's
demo.
not as much of a difference.
No,
and, so on the technology side, something that I've always kind of laughed at is, we've had telematics for forever. And I don't know why it's not talked about enough of like what it really provides at the end of the day. Like I worked at a dealer. We had all these telematics reports, care track, and they're like 60-page reports.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's not really. It's what can you actually use it for? And you don't want to be giving customers 60-page reports, and then it's like this other job that they need to do of like reading the information and then determining what to do with it. So I've always felt like. People like look at the industry and they're like, oh, these customers don't embrace technology. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, how about we give them something that they can use? Like I don't necessarily think it's the customer per se.
I'm a huge believer in that. I have engineers that come in every once in a while, right? And from a technician standpoint, I love bursting engineers as bubbles. Same thing with data, right? I can have all this data, and I'm gonna bring like, okay, how'd you get this data? Where are you? Like, are you just is this assumed data? Is this how accurate is this data? And like Chip always says, he's like, man, we've got all this data, we just need to find a way to use it. And it's true, and you gotta. I think that's the bad part about technologies, right? Is you get this information overload when at the end of the day, we just gotta move dirt. That's the simple aspect of it.
Then for a contractor, what is the most important data? You can throw away a bunch of it. What is stuff that's really important to you?
So I mean, like idle time and like working time. So that's a huge one, right? So is the machine working, or do we have guys just sitting around in trucks and we just don't realize it?
Do you have a goal company wide for like idle time for machines? Is it specific by type of machine?
It's specific type of machine. Once you get into like those graders and like rollers, it's so hard because
they're
work
sitting a lot.
Yeah.
Right? But like an excavator or a loader, like what's acceptable idle time, what's not?
So like on a mass dirt crew, like I don't feel like you should be anything over like 15%.
Okay.
Right. And a lot of that is, how long are they sitting? But, and Chip is good at this, and sometimes I lose track of this, is okay, why was he sitting? Is our route messed? You know what I mean? Is our route, there's a reason, right? And that information, that idle time, it may not be we may not have an operator just sitting there milking the clock, right? It could be something that we're doing wrong, and we're not. So it gives us the ability to identify, okay, what's going on? Is he just sitting, or is it we have a bad route? So idle time's a huge one. The fuel's getting better.
So I was going to ask, so like you have things that just, in the last 30 days, the world has changed, right? Fuel has skyrocketed. Diesel fuel is now like $6 a gallon here. Yeah. Like what happens? What are the internal conversations? Is there anything that you guys then put into practice or have to change like midstream in a project?
Yeah, it's efficiencies, right? It's how do we get the most amount of money for the gallons that we're burning, right? And to do that, you got to be efficient. And I think that's the secret that every company kind of tries to hold on to and wants to keep to themselves is how do I make this end dump the most not just fuel efficient, but the most effective for, like, if I'm going to burn 10 gallons, those 10 gallons, I want to move the most amount of dirt that I can possibly move.
So you'll just shut off equipment then, maybe?
It's not even shut off equipment. It's planning your routes, how you go about a job site, how you go about things. Equipment, new equipment, and how we run it. There's so many factors that go into that. It's how do we nail this down? Because you're going to pay for fuel. Right. I mean, fuel is It's something that's never going to go away in our industry.
Who's like routes? Like one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is like the different roles within a contractor. Like what is the day-to-day role of a project manager? What is the day-to-day role of a superintendent, of a foreman? And then how do you interact with those different roles?
So I mean, a foreman, he's got his crew, right? And at the end of the day, especially if you get our superintendents, they've got a lot on their plate. They've got a lot of jobs to work on. That foreman is going to be like your main guy for that job site, and what's going on. Yeah, and he's kind of paying attention to what's going on. Superintendents, they're the jobs, right?
They oversee a few different jobs at a time.
Yes, they're ultimately like the job and what's going on in the job and what that foreman is doing. Right. And then the project management is like the back end side of a project, right? Is how do they deal with the customer, the paperwork,
okay,
the cost.
so they deal more, so they're like the face of your company to the ultimate customer.
Yes.
The superintendent is responsible for multiple jobs, like the
operation,
the financial,
kind of. the operations of it, and they work together, right? The superintendent and the project manager, they got to work together. They got to be able to.
So
to
like
coexist.
the superintendent will tell the project manager, hey, you can tell our customer we're on this timeline, we're according to schedule. You deal, or if we're behind, you got to deal with that.
Or if something's going wrong on the job, right? Like if, hey, we're going to run into this problem. I see this problem coming up. You may want to go ahead and get the process started to figure out what we're going to do here. I mean, that to be fair to them, right? I do with equipment and logistics, and that side of it seems daunting, right? That is a whole nother side of the business of, dealing with counties and cities and customers and stuff, and that's their job.
So then, do you deal more so with like the foreman and the superintendent then?
On a day-to-day basis on the equipment side, yes. It is mostly superintendents and foremen because those are where we're getting our information from. And at the end of the day, if machines aren't running, superintendents aren't they can't, their jobs can't get done. They can't complete the task they want to do, and they are quick to let you know. They are very quick to let you know.
So if a machine is down for 5 days, you're hearing from the superintendent every day.
If it's down for a day, you are hearing it. Especially certain superintendents, man, they're very good and they don't mind picking up that phone. I used to say all the time, man, I got some superintendents that I think I talk to more than my wife because they love calling, and it's their job, right? That's what they're.
And then they're the ones who are most likely having to deal with like employee problems and that stuff, right?
Yeah, the superintendents are dealing with a lot of the employee problems, a lot of the workers, a lot of the operators, and the ever-growing struggles of those.
Is that
problems.
a common thing? A common headache for like a super is like operators who don't show up for work or they show up late or.
Oh yeah, that's it. Depends. You would like to think that we got a great group of guys, and I think we do.
Sure.
But you're always going to have those problems, right? You're always going to have your problem childs, and you're always going to have. And as a superintendent, I think they're pretty good about knowing which ones are which, right? And knowing, hey, I can't. This guy's probably going to call out. We're not going to put him on something that we really need done that next day. You know what I mean? They kind of know.
And so when you're bidding work, are you dealing with the head estimator? Are you involved in that process?
So I'm not so much involved in the bidding aspect as much as I try to help, right? Equipment's a huge expense, fuel's a huge expense, and logistics is a huge expense. So trying to just help them build the most accurate bid that they can possibly do, right? By giving them the most accurate information, by giving them, hey, this is how much fuel is, this is what's going on. And it's not so much of a day-to-day conversation as much as it is a like overall
So give me an example of a job. You're going to bid a job. What would a typical job that you bid?
Like a residential neighborhood job.
All right. So you're going to do the site work for a residential neighborhood that's going to go in. Okay. Estimating department comes to you. And it's going to be for like Lennar. Would that be a client of yours?
Yeah.
All right. What information are they asking of you?
From me, really it's just going to be like, hey, we're going to do this specific type of pipe work over here.
We need 50 lots.
Yeah, we need this certain type of machine. Can you get us a rental rate on that?
So they tell you like, hey, we're going to need 10 100,000-pound excavators. We're going to need...
So for the most, they don't have to tell me that because we already we own 95% of our equipment, 99% of our equipment, really. So they already know what we have and what kind of goes into what jobs. It's more of the specialty side for the rental side.
Okay.
And then my conversation with fuel, right, is I bring that up to the president, Barrett, and the chief. Hey, guys, fuel's come up $1. We need to account. This is how much it's going to cost us more.
Okay.
We need to account for this. And then they kind of handled that side of it of like how they're going to.
And then are you also providing like an idea of like utilization on equipment? Like,
so utilization, no, that'll be more of our VP of operations. He'll kind of be like, hey, these are the production rates. This is what we feel like it's going to take and stuff like that. And our estimating team, they know what goes into a job. Where it kind of gets more of a global conversation is when it starts getting to that specialty stuff. That's like, hey, this isn't something we do every day. How are we going to go about this? Or what are we going to use?
and then is there a formal process after a job is completed where your company goes through like, hey, all right, let's look at this job. We bid it here. This is what the final product was. Did it, how often is it coming in like according to plan? How often does it not?
It's more like after job's complete.
Yeah.
All the time. I mean, that happens throughout the project, right? That's a huge part of throughout the project that more, I would say, PMs are involved in, but then the upper management level is involved in. They of looking like, hey, where are we at on this job? What are we doing here? Where did we mess up, or did we mess up, or was this not said?
Right.
And that honestly, that's a huge part of the deal and the job of a project manager is realizing like, hey, this got changed. We gotta capture this.
And I would imagine you guys have a pretty solid formula, having been in the business since '95, right?
They've got it locked down pretty good. There's always room for improvement, but they impressed me with. I've gone through bids and different stuff like that, and it's impressive what they've got.
Something that I've always wondered, with service and repairs, so much of it, like, yes, you have PMs, but so much of service is unplanned. Do contractors, do they assume a certain percentage of repairs are going to be needed on a machine per year? Like, how do you look at that?
It's a constant moving target.
Like, if you have a $300,000 excavator, do you like pencil in like, all right, we're going to probably have to spend $15,000 a year maintaining this machine? Like, do you have any or is it just like?
So yes and no. I try to push that actually back on the dealers now with TM&R.
Okay.
That's been a huge asset, right? It's going, hey, I want you to tell me what this machine's going to run an hour, right? And we do our own calculations, and we have our own spreadsheets and ways we have to figure out, hey, what did we spend here? What do we spend here? Because TM&R still doesn't even capture everything. But that is I think that's a huge change that you're starting to see is that liability of like, I'm not going to tell you what your machine can do. I need you to, hey, I want a TM&R number, and I want you to tell me how much this thing's going to cost an hour. And then at the end of the day, from a company standpoint, now it's a fixed cost.
It's a fixed cost.
It's a fixed cost. You're going to have some variables, right? And some damage. You have damage, variables, wearable items, and stuff like that. But for the most part, we're like, hey, we know what this machine's going to cost us. And that helps us project, right? That helps us know.
And you pay per hour for usage.
Yeah, I think a lot of TM&R contracts are per hour, but I believe you can pay per month and per you can pay like a set month.
Sure.
Or you can pay. There's different ways to do it, but I think the most common is per hour.
But if you still have downtime,
that's not captured in it. Yeah.
Right.
You still don't want downtime. That's the killer.
So that only kicks in when you can get that machine fixed.
That's the killer. So when you talk about like, and that was something when I came over as a technician to be equipment manager, it blew my mind, the cost that these companies are having to incur for the equipment. It is mind-boggling.
Do you have like an idea of like, hey, if an excavator is down, it costs us X amount per day?
We have a rough idea. Yeah.
What would that be?
I mean, you're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You're talking, and it depends on the crew, depends on what job they're on, right? If that machine's holding up a billing or it's holding up getting a project done, that number is just skyrocketed, right? and we have an idea of like what it is. It's a moving target all the time, but that's, you know, chip likes it. That's the real killer, right? Is
How do you solve that problem? Because once again, you're reliant on other people to solve that problem.
the relationship.
Like, do you have relationship? So you just gotta like impress upon your vendors like, I really need you.
That's yes. It's nobody wants to work for somebody that they hate, right? And I've been on the dealership side where it's just like, God, I gotta go out to this guy again. And then you take your time, you're
at their mercy. It's almost like a reverse.
You are, but at the end of the day, they're also providing. So I'm a customer, right?
Yeah, I understand.
And the market's competitive, right?
Do you have like backup machines? No.
So we like to say there's no such thing as backup machine. If a machine's sitting, it's getting used somewhere else, right?
Okay.
I don't care how many machines we have, we'll find a place to put it. So no, we have contingencies, right? If something goes down, we can pull another machine from a less important job, and we can find a way, right? But I think you would be surprised at like how quickly I can, and it's not even me anymore, it's my dispatcher, and I've shown him the things I've done, and I still keep a very good relationship, but how quickly I can move through getting machines fixed. Dude, and that's the first question. Like, oh, you don't have technicians? Like, oh, your downtime must be incredible. And I'm like,
Sure.
No, not really. I was like, I can get a tech quick.
I know.
Quick.
I'm amazed by that, and it just kind of blows my mind.
Even
honestly.
y'all. I mean, even with y'all. I mean, I got a guy in Davenport, Mason, and he works on John Deere stuff for us, and y'all impressed me because I'll call Raphael and I say, hey, you know, where are we at on this grader? He goes, oh, he's already there. And I'm like, perfect. Easy.
I can tell you how we do it though. And I know how the other people do it. So I'm just amazed that the way I like interpret what you're saying is like, I'm just really nice to them. And so they get me somebody. That's
nice. Yeah. Nice. I mean, and we have a high fleet, right? I'm not immune to the fact that like we're a bigger company that they want to keep happy and stuff like that, and I'm sure smaller companies have probably a harder time, but I'm a big believer, man, in the relationships that I have with dispatchers, because it's one thing too, because like I could have a relationship with an ops manager or a service manager, right, and the field dispatcher hates me, I'm not getting anything quick.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Like, do you have any secrets though? Like, yeah, I understand like building relationships and to where they want to help you, but like, do you have any certain unique insights that help you with that? Like, are you asking for specific type of people?
Some jobs I do. If I know, like, and I kind of got away from that now that I don't dispatch repairs 24/7. But there was times that I was like, oh, I have an idea what's going on with this, and I know a guy that's really good at this, and I'd request, right? And
okay.
Sometimes they can do it. Sometimes they can't. That happens sometimes, but. I think it's the willingness to work with them, right? To know, and kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. They know that I'm going to be in their corner when it's not their fault, right? When they've done everything they can, I can go to Chip and I go, hey man, they've done everything they can, and they know I will do that. So I think that speaks volumes to them to go, hey man, if this does go south, Eric's not going to hang us out to dry.
Interesting. Let's say with your knowledge and your background, I give you a large loan and you're going to start a dealership. How would you set up the service department? Would you set it up, like, do you think that there are certain areas that just should be done differently? And I gave you like, it's your dealership, you were going to set up service. How would you set it up any differently than it is like and I'm not talking about anybody specific. I'm talking about in a perfect world, I'm giving you the keys to a dealership. How would you set up service?
So the foundation of how service departments are, I think, is good, right? You have your shop, you have your field. Things that I would probably change a little bit is, and it sounds bad, but almost catering to technicians, right? What do you like to do? Are you like an electronics guy? Are you an engine guy, right? And then knowing how many of which guy you have, right?
Yes.
So like a huge problem when GPS came out, right? When GPS dosers came out was like, great, man. I've got one technician that works on GPS equipment. I'm not gonna be able to get you for 4 days, and that would just get me. Cause I'm like, how do we have this many GPS dozers and we only got one guy?
There's a saying that I've heard. I wish I would have heard it when I was at the dealership.
Yeah.
I've only heard it after. And I think it's pointing to what you're saying is that one area that has been a notorious weakness within the OEM dealer world is when you get a technician from a dealer, you get the next available. You don't get necessarily the best person for that job.
Yes.
And what you're saying is like, hey, first I want to know if I have 50 technicians, I want to know the 10 that are experts in electrical, the 10 that are experts in this
knowing where
area.
your technicians are. And it's
Yeah.
a moving target, right? It's not always going to work out. It's never going to always work out. That's just, it's too volatile of an industry.
Sure.
But knowing, right? Knowing that and to be fair, most dispatchers know, but being a field dispatcher at a dealership is not for the faint of heart.
Oh no, because
It
you're
is.
constantly under the gun,
Yes.
and that's what like I saw it every day for a long time. You just feel a tremendous pressure to tell the customer what they want to hear. They want to hear someone's on the way, and it's a really difficult thing to say, hey, I don't have the right guy for you right now. I have the right guy 2 days from now. But they just were like, hey, it's better to say that Bobby's on his way.
Yeah. So going back to the relationship thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the secret, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when I was dispatching, I got a guy, his name's Austin. He's a service manager down in Bradenton for Lender for their Kubota side. Mm-hmm. Me and him had as far as dispatcher to equipment, I would call him and I'd be like, hey, I need this. And we were close enough that he would look at me and be like, ain't gonna happen. And I'm like, okay, well, all right, what's going on? And then that honest conversation of like, all right, man, I really want to send you this guy, but I can't. And then the ball's in my court, right? All right, just send the next guy you got. We'll deal with it then. And then now I know where he's at, right? Okay. I know that it may take the guy a little longer, but I know he tried. And then in the same sense is I call him and I'm like, hey man, I need this. Like, I'm not crying wolf. This is important. And he'd go, I got you. I'll make it work. Same thing on the invoice. He used to call me and be like, just when you get a second, call me. This invoice is messy. We just need to talk. And it was just that honest, that purely honest, that like I had no doubt in my mind when I called them that I was getting the truth. Because at the end of the day, I gotta not sell the truth, but I gotta tell people the truth. And I don't want to. If I'm telling somebody a lie because I got lied to, that's annoying.
Is there anything else that you would do differently
on
like setting up service?
So. I don't know how. Try to make it easier for the field dispatcher, whether that's adding them, and that's obviously a cost, right? An overhead cost, but trying to figure out a way to streamline that guy to where they're not just getting burned out all the time. And that's hard, right? I don't know the answer. I don't have the answer on me, but that would be a huge point of like, man, being a field dispatcher is rough. You're constantly getting yelled at. You're constantly wanting people want things right now. I want things right now.
Would you say that part of the challenge for them is that they don't really know when people are going to be available?
Yeah. It's a moving target, right? You may have, and it's always super, super wavy. One day you may have 4 techs ready to go, and the next day you don't have a tech for 3 days, and that's hard, right? So having the tech availability is one. And then 2 is how to help them out, right? How to not let them just get so burnt all the time. I mean, it'd be a hard problem. It'd be a hard problem to fix.
Look, I've seen, having worked there a long time, like you see a revolving door of service manager and dispatcher.
Yeah, those are those 2 jobs, man. They're not fun.
How do customers view warranty? Is warranty bullshit?
Oof. Can be. It's a lot of fine print. It's just
just happen to find certain things that aren't covered all the time.
That's why TM&R is kind of nice, man. TM&R is a simpler contract. Warranty can save you, but it can also bite you hard. I think there's a need for it, but it's you got to be careful. You gotta know what you're getting into. You gotta have trust in the dealership or whoever's supplying the warranty that they're gonna do what they need to do, because that's a whole part too, right? Mm-hmm. Is you don't have a direct relationship with the warranty company. You're basing off of somebody else doing what they need to be doing. Mm-hmm. That's a tough one. It truly is, I think, case by case on if it's worth it or not, and that's just releasing the liability, right? Mm-hmm. 'Cause sometimes, especially with some of these warranty costs, right? You look at them and you're just like, I'll take the risk.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of companies going to self-insure too.
So that's a huge part of our industry that and I'm not even super involved in it, but I'm slowly getting involved. Liability and risk, man. Companies are gonna try to limit exposure and risk more and more as time goes on, right? How do we limit risk? How do we limit us being the one that's responsible?
So for a contractor, what are those areas that you're trying to limit risk in?
I mean, the biggest one is just like over the road, right? Is people driving every day. People driving to job sites every day. Dump trucks driving. Mm-hmm. It's equipment on site, right? And at the end of the day, we do a job and we do it very well. When we start trying to do other things, right, and the liability that's incurred in it. So turning wrenches, right? We don't have any mechanics. Mm-hmm. That's not what we do, right? If we were to hire a bunch of technicians, that's a whole set of liability, right? If we mess something up, now we own it. Mm-hmm. It's all the different pieces of like how do we shift liability and risk to where it's less on us and more on somebody else, so we can focus on what we do good.
Mm-hmm. But then again, the other side of that is that you are dependent on others. So
Yes.
Your risk is less, but you're more dependent on others.
And I think that's where that's where we like to use the word partnerships, right? We're partners with people. We don't want vendors. Mm-hmm. We want partners, right?
Is there anything, so Chip started the company in 94, 95. Mm-hmm. You've gotten to know him pretty well.
Yep.
Is there anything that you've seen him change his mind on in the industry in the last like 5-10 years?
In the last 5-10 years, him knowing that technology is kind of like how do we utilize technology to the best of our abilities? How do we use AI? How do we use, how do we do GPSs better? How do we get more efficient, right? Whereas when everything's rocking and rolling, everything's super super busy, right? You're just trying to survive. Mm-hmm. But being able to nail down efficiencies, right? Because at the end of the day, just like we talked about with equipment and how close everybody's coming together on equipment, it's the same thing with site contractors and work, right? We're all so similar. We're all same work. We all, it's how good of a product can you produce and how efficient can you do it, right? Those are the big keys, right? How do we nail down those two things to be the best of what we do?
Is there a certain type of equipment that is much more costly to own and run than others?
Yeah. I mean, end dumps are rough. End dumps are, and it's just because you run them so hard all day long. Excavators, same. It blows, to this day, I'm a mechanical guy. It blows my mind that you can run a Traco at, 3/4 of what, what is it? Probably 4,000 RPMs, 3,000 RPMs all day long, and it just eats it up like it ain't nothing. If you do that to a car, it would it would explode. So I'd say your mass dirt crew and your excavators and your end dumps, those are.
Do you guys own end dumps?
Yeah, we own all of our end dumps.
Do you really? Okay, because the last few years at the dealership, we saw a huge mindset change with contractors on how expensive end dumps were to own. Yeah. And so we saw a huge push to leasing them to get super low. All right, we have a 2-year project, so we can tie a 2-year lease to this on the trucks. We saw a huge...
I think there's advantages to it.
Yeah.
There's definitely disadvantages to it, too. You're kind of stuck with it. We're very flexible with our fleet, what we can do with it, what we can't do with it. Mm-hmm. And we've honestly just never, we just don't lease, and Chip likes to own his equipment, and I think there's some.
What is your typical disposal strategy then? Like, do you go to auction at a certain point, like when it reaches a certain age?
I've gotten more into the auction, right? So we ran with, try to trade in equipment a lot. Here in the last couple of years, we've looked into the auction market a little bit, and there's a risk and a liability with that. But I think if you do it correctly, so my goal, I remember one of my goals when I started at Tucker was there was companies at auctions that was like, oh, they owned that machine. that's a good machine. Like, I'm a bid on it. That was like a goal of mine, was like, when our machines show up to auction, it may not have our name on it, but if they know it's Tucker Paving, they're going to go, that's a good machine. I know they take care of their machine. That was a huge goal for mine, and that's what I'm more or less trying to work towards.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty remarkable, like, how sophisticated Richie is.
It's crazy.
With all of the data points they have. Like, there is, like, I can't imagine that business 20 years ago. There was a lot more risk. Like, if I put X machine in, I don't know what I'm going to get. But they have so many data points to where you can pretty much know within a couple percent.
Well, they got it dialed in.
Yeah, if I have this year model with this hour range, if it's in decent condition, I'm going to get X out of it. So
They got it dialed in pretty well. I use their database. I utilize my rep to help, because they are very good at what they do.
So then your fleet then is primarily owned, and then you'll supplement with rental.
Yeah, we try not to rent, but it's a necessary evil sometimes. Our kind of mindset is, if we're running long term, we just need to own it. We need to move it to an RPO, or we just need to own it. Rentals are kind of like with Chip, can't stand them.
How come?
It's just cost, right?
Yeah, because you pay a premium.
You're paying a premium to rent a machine that you could RPO or buy and actually start making money. You know what I mean? Like, how
do you assign a cost to a job for equipment that you use?
It goes through the bid, and that's refined in different ways. Whether it's I'll be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you how exactly they do it, but it's it's in the bidding process. We account for equipment.
Okay. What you seem like you're like an avid learner. Like, what areas are you focused on, like, for your own, like, growth, like, in the next few years? Like, what have you identified, like, hey, I want to get better at X, Y, and Z, more knowledgeable at this aspect to make me a better fleet manager?
Yeah. So for me, it's the constantly learning, right? I like to work on stuff on the side just to keep, make sure I'm not losing touch with how to work on stuff, and honestly the struggles of working on stuff, of like, man, this sucks. I feel for these technicians that are working on these things. So just continuing my learning with them, with that on the technical side, and making sure I'm keeping up with technology, because it changes so much. I'd say that on the equipment side. And then a big part right now is, as I move through the company and I'm moving up in the company, is I've always been kind of in charge of myself, and I've slowly starting to get, people and how to delegate and how to, I've always been a good relationship guy, right? I can build a relationship with anybody, but it's, how to build that relationship with people that are, getting things done for you, and how to get the most out of people. So being that.
What have you learned there? Managing people is a huge challenge.
It is. I operate like how I want to be managed, right? So, it's funny, me and Chip, we're probably two different personalities, but we want the same goal, right? How we get to those goals are probably different, and how I manage is definitely a reflection of, like, who I am, right? I'm a guy that wants, you're going to know what I'm thinking, you're going to know how I'm feeling, you're going to know if I'm stressed out, right? And I want people that work for me to go, hey, man, I can go up to this guy anytime I need if I got something wrong. Or if there's something on my chest I need to get off, you can come up to me, right? And I'm a huge communication guy. I never want to find out about something somewhere else, right? There's a problem, just come to me. I'm not gonna rip you. I'm not gonna, if it's a continuous problem, then we have to have a conversation. But for the most part, I'm not gonna. Mistakes happen, and from what I've learned, most people, if you hire really good people, they don't want. Nobody's trying to do a bad job, right?
Sure.
There's always a reason that something went wrong, and it's just trying to find that and then give people the tools, right? Is, hey, this is how I think you should do it, but at the end of the day, you're doing this every day. You tell me what's going to work better for you. And that's the part I'm learning. And Chip and Caroline, our CFO, both of them help me tremendously with that, because it's definitely a new area for me.
Yeah, managing people is a whole other level. Everybody's different. Personalities play such a huge part. Yes. Hiring is brutally difficult.
Yes.
Everyone knows what to say in an interview. The only way to know is by seeing someone doing the job every day.
Yep.
And everyone makes mistakes hiring too, and that's a difficult thing too. Is like, when to admit that you made a mistake.
Yes,
it's
and I've gotten lucky, man. The people that I do have with me, they're great, and they've worked out. And I would, they're good people, and I'd like to think that they enjoy the way I manage, right? The way that I'm very open, like, open door, like truly that open door policy, people first. Chip's taught me a lot about managing and how to delegate, right? How to go. This is how you do it. This is how you give it to somebody to make sure that it's happening the way you want it to happen.
Right.
It's not the final product isn't turning into something else that you didn't want.
Sure.
So,
Last thing that I wanted to ask you, because you have a unique perspective, I think. I write blog posts like every couple of weeks or so. Technician shortage is something that I wrote about recently. I have my point of view on it. I am surprised at some of the pushback on my point of view. I believe one of the main drivers of the technician shortage is the compensation. I think compensation has been depressed in this industry for a long time. I equate it to there's been a huge increase in like software engineers, people pursuing that path. Reason why I believe is that there are highly paid jobs and there's a lot of demand for them. There's no shortage of demand for technicians.
yeah.
The ironic thing with some of the things we're talking about is that I think this field will become more popular because it's less impacted by AI.
Yep.
Like you can do AI this and that, but you still need people to turn wrenches. And I think I started in 2004. I was told how no one wants to be a technician anymore. There's been like zero movement in it. And I think a major reason is because of the pay scale. It just hasn't moved much. What do you think are some of the reasons behind the technician shortage and just like the lack of blue collar workers?
So, kind of similar. I'm more on the lifestyle, right? I think you're finding a lot of guys, and it's the world, right? And I could be wrong, and there's always those guys out there, but guys don't want to kill themselves working anymore, right? They want to go home. They want to spend time with their family. They want to be able to go take vacations. They want, you know what I mean? And it kind of goes back to the affordability thing of like being compensated to afford all that. But I think that's is the lifestyle and like the getting away from the old school mentality of just get it done, get it done, get it done, and kind of not, it's a strong word, I don't, like appreciating the technician, right? Knowing, dang, this is the guy. And I think you're starting to see the change in blue collar, right? More people are getting into the blue collar. They're realizing that maybe college isn't the just the normal, hey, let's do this. You're starting to see that a lot more.
Well, you're also getting more people to analyze the cost benefit of college, right? Like
100%.
if I have to pay X and this is what I'm getting for it and I can't get a job that pays me more than X, is it worth that?
Yeah. And I think that's a huge part of it. So you're starting to see it, right? And I think what you're going to do is you got to make it, like you said, you got to make it lucrative for them in the sense of not just compensation, but freedom, right? Freedom and how people live, right? It's not a thing of like people. I don't think people want to go out there and work 80 hours and not see their kids anymore.
Yeah.
People want to go home and spend time with their kids and just love their life.
Sounds like independent technicians is a more desirable.
Well, and I think that's where y'all come in, and it's nice is these technicians, right? They can go work 2 or 3 jobs, and they're home by 3, 4 o'clock, and they can play with their kids, and they can enjoy the things that they want to do. And not to say that dealerships aren't offering that, but it's more of like they've got so much workload that it's like, man, you need the guys that are going to work 60, 65 hours.
Yeah, you're driving people hard.
And I think people are just, it's just not there anymore. I knew even for me when I was a technician, I was good with my 50 to 55 hours. I wanted to go home, and my saying was like, I work to live, I don't live to work.
Sure.
And I think you're seeing a lot more of that, and a lot more of, people want the freedom, man. People want to be able to go enjoy the things that they want to do.
Yeah, I would agree with
And
that.
I think we're in the right direction, right? I think you're starting to see it more. People like you, even dealerships, right? Like, I remember when I first started, like, it was like, oh, you're not working 65 hours a week? What?
Yeah,
You don't,
you're lazy.
Yeah, you don't want to work 70 hours a week, and you're not seeing that anymore, right? You're seeing guys that are like, oh, man, I'm good. I got my hours. I'm gonna head to the house. Are you good? You don't need anything else?
Yeah, totally.
You're seeing that more, and I think you're gonna that with the blue collar stuff.
Yeah, quality of life is huge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting the next few years because no college debt, show people a path to make real money and have better quality of life.
Yes.
Right? Like, and it's just these jobs will become more attractive because you know, like all these things, like you can use, like I use AI to like review contracts. You know, I use AI to help with accounting.
Yeah.
I use
100%. There's a huge need for it.
but you need people to fix stuff.
That's why I say I love the saying. It's AI is probably, in our industry. AI is probably not going to take your job, but somebody that can utilize it and knows how to get the job done quicker because of it is going to be the guy that ultimately takes your job.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by, sharing your unique insights and your perspective. It was a really interesting conversation. So
I appreciate y'all having me. This has been it's been fun.
Awesome.
It's been a good time.
Thanks, man.